Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Stimming and Stilettos with Dr. Tasha. And of course, as usual, we have another phenomenal, fantastic guest on for. She's going to give us she's going to give us a lot of information, and I'm really excited to have her on the show. This is I want to say this is kind of a special this is a special episode because I don't think I've had someone on who's doing what our guest is doing. And so I'm excited to hear what she has to say. And I hope you guys learn a lot. So first I want to welcome Dr. Eve Hudson to the show. Hey.
Hey, Dr. Tasha, thank you so much for having me and for all the work that you do. I really appreciate it.
Right back at you. We need more people doing the work that you're doing because it directly impacts the work that I'm doing.
Facts.
So, okay. So, as we begin every show, Dr. Eve, tell us your story.
Man, what a story I think it is sometimes when I look back at my life, because I can't believe what's become of it. I was born to a single mother who eventually ended up having 3 children. She wasn't always single. She was actually married, so she tried to do it right. But I was only one of her children who was born without, the 2-parent home situation. But college wasn't something I'd ever thought about because nobody in my family had gone to college, and got to a place where I started getting questions more so around like senior year of high school. Are you going to college? And I'm like, doing what? No, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to stay, close to home so I can help my mom because I know that she needed it. But I kept getting these mentors and having these conversations about going to school. So, went off to HBCU, the first in the South, Shaw University. I had the help of a lot of educators to get me there and ended up getting a 4-year scholarship, academic scholarship. So for me, the story
Wow.
is I went from, young Black woman in the low ACS, the low ACS in household environment, single parent who was supposed to be that statistic, right?
Mhm.
Supposed to be barefoot, pregnant with a whole bunch of kids on welfare. That's what they say. The statistics say that. But life had other plans for me. So fast forward, went to Shaw, got a master's. I'm kidding. I wish I would have got a master's then, but I got a bachelor's in mass communications. Moved to Mississippi for a job, but ended up going to school after about a year. And I ended up getting a master's in student affairs administration. Then I went on to get a PhD in higher education administration. So I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I think even my family's wildest dreams. I'm still the first and only doctor in my family. And I took that experience of being first generation and created an entire international platform around empowering first generation college students and graduates.
Oof. Okay, there's a lot that I'm sure you haven't told us. I'm going to try to unpack some of this with your help. Okay, so first off, let's go back and talk about in high school, those folks who sort of pushed you, those mentors, those folks who were holding your hands. Who were they, and what was some of the best advice that they gave you?
Teachers, my high school history teacher, Milton Cotwell, was one of the ones. He was a HBCU grad, learned later in life he was a Kappa man, and he was the one who helped me figure out where I wanted to go to school. And he used to always say, you'll figure it out. You've got leadership skills, you are intelligent, you can do it. And so he sat with me. He wrote my letters of recommendation. He was so impactful. And I want to say about 2 or 3 years after being in school, he ended up passing away. And my English teacher, she used to always say, you know, you're going to be one of them. But hindsight, I used to think about what because I never knew what it meant. Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan. She said that's what you like. You're gonna go to college and be great. But I'm like, again, what do these things mean? I'm going to college. Who's going to college? Me. But they used to always just pour into me in little ways and used to tell me that they saw my light and saw my potential. And in doing that, it made me think differently about myself and realize maybe I can do this because all the smart kids were doing it. The kids that came from money were going to school. So who am I to think I can go to college? And then, again, sadly, about a year ago, Miss Robertson had passed as well. But it was people who I was in clubs, that maybe they advised in classes where I sat in the front. and they just saw something and they gravitated toward me and they wouldn't let up. Even my principal at the time, phenomenal man, phenomenal. I was the principal's pet in school. Some people love, the teacher's pet. I was the principal's pet, and I own that now. But I used to always say, I see something in you, and I'm not going to let up on you because there's so much promise for you. Hindsight, now I'm the one, telling my students that because you don't realize what promise and light and greatness looks like. So it's nice to have people in your life who can see things in you and take the time to invest.
I love so much about that because I think what happens, especially, well, I'll just speak for myself. In high school, it was my high school counselor who was just like, you can do these things, right? There is so much out here that the world has to offer you that he would call me to, and my sister, my brothers, he was all of our counselors, but he would if we didn't do what we were supposed to do, like he had said, I need information from you, he would be the one to call my parents and be like, he didn't turn in her stuff. you know, he was that guy to say, you know what, she's not going to stay here, because I grew up in a small town, right? I mean, it is this big, two exits on the highway, not even two exits, an exit and a half, right? So it's like you're getting out of this town. You're destined for bigger and better things. Not to say that anything was wrong with the town, but at the same time, he was like, "This will not be your story." And so I just love him so much. He actually passed away a couple of years ago. So I just love that he just, like you said, he didn't let up. So I wonder if kids are, and you can speak to this, is this generation having the same experiences?
Yes and no. It's a great question, because even how you mentioned a counselor, like I'm like, oh, how did I forget that? My counselor was great. There was also another lady in career development at our school who was instrumental. All Black people. So, but I say yes and no because back then, and I guess I'm aging myself now, there wasn't social media. We weren't, trying to keep up with this popularity thing or this hype that came with the social media posts. It was true and authentic mentorship and leadership and people that were invested in their communities and the future generations without the fear of getting caught on camera because they didn't told you about yourself, right? Or without the fear of, did I say something wrong and I've ended up in the newspaper for one thing I said wrong that was well intended. I think that the village used to raise a child for real, and now with social media raising the child. And then even so, their impressions about what people can and can't do that has created so many interesting boundaries. But at the same time, this is a very vocal, very purpose driven generation that's behind us, that's coming along, that is really shaping the world and pushing the limits on things, in the sciences, especially, right? In engineering and mathematics and education, the innovation and being able to learn. I mean, teaching students like across seas. I'm currently an assistant professor, adjunct assistant professor. I'm kidding. I'm not tripping right now. I am an adjunct professor of higher education for a school in Kentucky, and one of my students was in Thailand. So at one point before, what we have to think about teaching a student across seas, and do it so easily, so effortlessly, so casually. It's not a oh my gosh. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I have a student in Thailand and a student that's in Africa right now, and just so our the generation that's coming is forcing us to think about life differently as well. But I think that we have to find a middle, in appropriateness, but how we show up and how we can still help guide those who need it. Because some people said, my grandma used to say it to some of us, the generations, they get weaker and wiser. And it's like, well, how? But now I understand it, because innovation happens and we are all trying to adjust. And one generation thinks this is how we did it, this is how we should do it. And the other saying, well, no, y'all old. Shut up and leave us alone. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about that.
I think I don't think I've heard someone put it that way, but there's so much truth there. One about the impact that social media has had on everything, everything. I can't think of one area that it hasn't impacted in some way, shape, or form. So it would be naive of me to think that it hasn't impacted education, but just sort of how the kids sort of view themselves and like their relationships. So relationships are different, right? We actually had to go in, visit somebody, sit in front of them, and they had to tell us some hard truths sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's a different dynamic when you're sitting across from someone. And then if you're doing it on social media, I mean, that takes it to another level. Not only that, but of course, you get to shape and frame what gets seen on social media.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. So not just the individual sitting there on their telephone, but like corporations, colleges, schools, other entities. You get to shape the narrative around what that is. And so our kids are seeing that, and they're forming opinions and thoughts based off of this thing. And it has some real consequences and repercussions that I think we will be feeling for a long, I say we, I mean them, will be feeling for a really, really, really long time in really consequential ways. You know what I mean? It's just, so especially, so then I start thinking about that in terms of, if I'm a first gen student, where am I getting information from?
The internet, Google, Facebook, probably not LinkedIn, TikTok. Before it was, like you said, going to sit in the office, going to talk to someone, somebody coming to you. But I will say, again, that's why we have to be mindful of how we build our platforms and how we shape narratives. We put on social media for people to learn, or are we putting anything on social media for people to learn? Because if you look at the growing trends of those who are on social media, we see that 18 to 24 demographic is one of the fastest growing, but they're also the ones that it used to be a Vine, then it became a TikTok, and then it became a Snapchat kind of thing. And, and I laugh now because I'm thinking like, what? We were how we said, too crunk for the cause to have Facebook. That was so innovative. And then to even be able to, and then you could only do Facebook on the computer. And so now that we can press a button on the phone and connect with the world, it's just insane to see. But then I think the overwhelm and the mental health drawbacks that are happening because of it, there's so much to process and digest all the time. So every college is competing for your attention. Every influencer is competing for your attention. Even platforms like yours and ours, we're competing for your attention, and you take it all in, and it can be overwhelming. And then you have the beauty industry, right? And the makeup and how you should look. And then the entrepreneurs who are telling you to go out here and forget corporations. So it's just a lot to consume and a lot of decisions for students to make even at an earlier age than what we did. And then I think in so many ways subjected to more getting catfished, or having people who are, sexually assaulting the younger generation because they set up a profile, or what's that thing called now? Because I never had to be on a Tinder, and meeting people, and it's insane to me. It's insane. So yeah.
So okay. So let me follow me here. So I mean, I agree with all of that, but like, I want to focus on like what. So if I'm trying to get to college, right? There's nobody. I don't have an example. My mama, my dad, my uncle, my sister, my whomever, didn't go. And if I guess I want to ask the question, like, how do I find someone like you who you have the experience, right? You know and understand the mindset, the thought processes, even though, each person is different. But like, if I'm looking, how do I find someone like you? And then what are some of the things that you offer me?
So finding somebody like me will probably be an internet search, right? First generation college student, going to college, how to get to college. But I would even say before that, going to your guidance counselor if in high school. That will be the number one, because these are typically the individuals who have the resources to help you get there. And then outside of
Mhm.
that, again, taking it upon yourself to go out, like you said, to be self-taught, self-led. And instead, if I want to go to college, I mean, because the resources there, how do I get to college? Or, first in the family to go to college, there are Facebook groups. There's one really very fascinating group that's on Facebook, empowering first generation college students. There's, college students unite group. So there are really, really good, very exciting components of social media, right? To where you can get those resources if you don't know, but it's looking and asking. And I think, again, for that person who doesn't know, it's starting with that teacher, with that guidance counselor. For me, I typically work more with those who are currently enrolled and have graduated from college. But, in doing that, it's my books, being able to read my books and find that empowerment that you need to navigate that 4-year experience. What are the lessons that I wish I would have learned, when I was going through my process? I really share those things. It's the journal, it's my podcast, it's my training programs, it's my speaking engagements. So I show up in many different ways to be able to serve. But me helping you in the space that I'm in, which again is probably unique because I'm not doing a lot of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like steps and tips. I'm here to really uplift your spirit like somebody did for me, to give you that empowerment, the motivation, the inspiration that you need to feel like, hey, she came from where I'm from. She did it. I can do it too. And though, a lot of people pick at motivational speakers for the you can do it too person, I think a lot of people undermine the power of somebody who looks like them, showing up
Mhm.
to say, beyond being a football player, a basketball player, a rapper, or whatever, somebody who's popular, that I took a different path and I still have achieved some level of success. So I am here to remind you of that, because we believe in what we can see. Why does a little black boy believe he can be president now? Because of Barack. Why does a young black woman even think she can be president? Because of Kamala. So it's some power in the visibility, and I really strive to lean into that for those with whom I get to serve.
Ooh, okay. You took me to the whole place. We done been to church and back. I promise. Because I believe in what you just said. And it's, of course, our work kind of crosses paths and some
Yeah.
really, what I think are really instrumental and really impactful ways. Because my audience is women of color in STEM, but they had to get through college, right? They had to have, there had to be someone who on the back end or in the middle of a thing said, yeah, you can still do this. You can push through. No, it's hard. I know it's difficult. I know folks don't look like you. You're sitting in a
Mm.
classroom and you might be the only one of you that's there, right? So how do you push through? What is the motivation? And this, that some little nugget of a thing in a at a conference that maybe you did 5 years ago, might be the thing that turns that switch on and helps a student continue. And then you get them on the back end where you're saying, you know what, now you're going into industry. I got words for you, right? I got words for
Right.
you. Let's talk through what it needs to look like for you so you can be happy and whole, because that's the
Mm.
thing. We want people to be happy and whole. We can't keep sending out wounded people, right?
Mm.
We can't just slap a band-aid on and say, okay, you go out and change the world. Yo, that's dead.
Mhm.
And if it's not, then it need to be,
Mhm.
because we need to be uplifting our own folks, because we know that the others, the clear folks, aren't going to do it.
You know what? I adore you. Since you just went there, since you went there, I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday and ended up waking up this morning to a podcast that was playing. I listen to podcasts overnight. So, like when I sleep, there's podcast playing. And when I woke up, there was one part that the guy was saying, and it was just really random, but again, confirmation that it's important for those of us who go on to do things to come back and serve our communities. I have, in full transparency, I've struggled with this idea of owning my blackness and doing things that, because I think it's different for us. If we do black
Mm-hmm.
stuff, it's here they go doing that blacks again,
Mm-hmm.
versus everybody else can do it. And it's, Latinas and Latinos uplifting their communities and, Asians uplifting their communities. But us, it's another black thing. Like here they go with their separation. Why is it always
Right.
division when it comes to us? So I say that to say, I think about the scholarships I want to give, the programs that I want to start. Still in this Black first gen space, I would say that there may be one or two other platforms that I know of, but they're still not like solely focused on the Black first gens, but they're Black people who are doing first gen work. So I say that to say, I'm looking at the others that come up, instead of the Latinx community, and I love to see it, but I'm still like, and who's serving us? So there's been a conviction for me to say, somebody still needs to feed into us as Black first gens. And while there are initiatives that I'm seeing in different ways, I'm feeling this strong pull to do it, but whatever's happening in this season of my life, because I've really, for a long time, and I think you can understand, being in predominantly white spaces, how do you act and what do you do? But then you build your own platform, and then where do you belong? Because if you do things for the Blacks and the Black people, you ain't gonna make it. So many things to fight with. But to get to the point, I'm just really feeling compelled and will be doing more to intentionally celebrate and uplift, the Black first gen community. And people were like, well, I thought you were the Black first gen lady anyway, because my podcast, 98%, 99% of my guests are Black. That was never the plan though, Dr. Tasha. It was never the plan. Here is a thing that brings us together as a people, a first gen identity, and still, you got Dr. Eve over here, you got this person over here, this person over there. And what's different about, me and some of the others, and not all, is that it's not always obvious, right? That there are other people involved in the communities. It's, yeah, we're going to leave it there. But to what you said, got to help our own, And I realize, if I don't do something, if I don't get past my fear of being boxed in, but I'm like, I created my own table though. So I got to get past that. So I'm still letting go of some of that trauma from corporate, but I'm trying to feed folks. So I want to bring them to the table and help them fix plates and teach them how to cook, right? So that we can continue to thrive, because otherwise, anybody else gonna do it? They're not.
You said a whole mouthful. No, I mean, the truth, it is, I understand that struggle. And I know you know this, but I understand that struggle. For me, it was, oh, well, why don't you just do women in STEM, right? Because that's still a thing, right? There's a dearth of women in STEM. And I was like, right. But within that struggle, there's our struggle. Mm-hmm. When the numbers are like 1-2%, what? Of something that's already, like, I think the numbers now of women in STEM is like 17 to 22%. Of the 22%, we are 1% of 20. It was like, what? That number is crazy. Who's talking to these people? Who's helping those folks? Because I promise you, they're having a whole different experience, right? They're dealing with some of the same crap that you guys are dealing with. You, the others, I call them the others, that the others are having. But I promise you, when you put race or ethnicity on top of it, it's a different thing. Somebody need to be talking to that pain. Somebody need to be making sure that they made it over. Like, I use my own experiences as an engineer, and I'm like, you know what? Here's what I didn't do, or here's what I did do, and here's the impact of that. Here's the things that I learned, so other people don't have to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Don't redo what I did. Be better, right? That's what I'm about, right? If I can help you, if my experience, my trauma can help you avoid trauma, then let's do that. Let us do that.
Absolutely. Like, you just took us there too, okay? Because it makes a difference all around the board, and the intersections. So even like, think you just talked about being, Black and a woman in STEM, but then for us to be Black women, period, Black women entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. a Black woman speaker. Well, now I'm a Black woman and I'm first generation. Let's add that layer. Meaning, right? Like you said, who do I turn to in this career thing? And I just think I was crazy when I was in professional settings. I worked in higher education, and my thoughts about professionalism, I came from the kind of family like, say, what's on your mind? Like, if that's what you're feeling. And again, to have to learn to be groomed, to be in spaces where it sometimes felt uncomfortable, that I couldn't bring my best self or who I was to the table because it was intimidating, or maybe it was rude, or that was disrespectful, or that wasn't professional. Well, when I worked at a HBCU, I can be like, oh, y'all tripping. And they would get that, right? that's not going to fly. And it wasn't a matter of, oh, that's disrespectful, versus if I said that same thing in another environment, it was a what? Like, you have an attitude, like, no, but you understand it, like, Dr. Tosh, you tripping. And you get that, like, you're not offended because you understand. Even something as simple as that lingo and the language and the connection, it makes it different. And I'll be very for real. One of the things I did in the past, I was in a meeting, staff meeting. They asked me when I thought. I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I didn't know me saying I didn't care was rude or disrespectful or something that I just did. I didn't care. I didn't have to put, but it's, oh, you're not supposed to say it that way. I don't have an opinion. But I'm like, but I just said I don't care. What did I do so wrong? Pulled me aside and had a conversation. But it's like, you're supposed to know better. You're supposed to know better. How am I supposed to know better? Because this is who I am. But it's not professional. Well, who defines professionalism?
Right.
Traditionally hadn't been us.
You asking the hard questions and it's so funny that we are talking about this is because that question is probably like, will go down in history as the question, right? Who defines professionalism? Who gets to decide whether my hair is a thing or not, right? Who gets to decide whether jeans are professional? Who gets to decide if a t-shirt and heels or what, like all of those things have been defined by the others for a long period of time. And so now there's been pushback for it. And what I think is even more interesting is that, there's been this whole, like, no, we're changing business casual and, all those other things. And then it's like, I don't really care as long as you can do the work. But then there's the backlash to all of that, right? Yeah. I will not do business with all of those kinds of things. And we see it being played out in larger forums in terms of like this CRT movement in education and some other things. This is the backlash for us standing up and saying, you know what, this ain't right, y'all. And I mean across the board on all of it.
Yes.
So they're going to go at this for as long and as hard as they possibly can. Because they can't be under the microscope. That's left for us. They want to be able to dissect us. They want to be able to take us apart, put us back together the way that they see us. They want to be able to dictate the rules and say, you will. And when we say no, they don't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do with that at all.
So since you went there too, you get my feelings today. But for good reasons, right? Because conversations that I'm not really able to have with other people because one, they don't get it. And I say other people, even sometimes like other people who are even Black people, Black men, people who are afraid. So the professionalism thing, I struggled to wear suits. I did not like them. They don't make me feel good. They don't make me feel empowered. But ask me about some jeans or a denim jacket, and I feel like I'm stepping up in the place. And I struggled. I have tattoos, I have piercing, I have a nose piercing, my tattoos are visible. But it's like this, you be professional, you wear slacks, you come in your business attire, you do this. And I'm like, but I'm not that kind of person. Not naturally, I'm not. Like, I don't mind wearing some slacks, but I really rather prefer to wear jeans and a really dope sweater, like, something that in my cardigan and, my flats, like I can come with it. And I couldn't really do that, in other settings. And it was making me feel stifled as a person. So one of the things that I've struggled with, especially in the work that I do, is always showing up as myself, right? I do that now, but before, you have students who are like myself, like yourself, who want to show up and be themselves. They're artsy. They don't conform to certain spaces. And all we're telling them to do is be professional, be corporate, straighten your hair, wear your suit. When you dress professional, you dress like this. And it's like, but what about the people? And if you see it, and you'll probably see it, right? Who is it? Tom, what's that guy's name? The Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. If you watch interviews, they show up in khakis, sometimes jeans, t-shirts. Steve Jobs did it, and we didn't question him. So why is it okay for some, but then for others, we have to conform to be professional? So when I go to my speaking engagements, I wear jeans, or I'll do a denim jacket with some kind of like flowered or patterned pants, because I refuse to continue to perpetuate this idea that you can only show up and be successful one way and not
Yes.
be a celebrity, not be an actor or a rapper or something, because I need to speak to, so again, Black woman, first gen, but also not somebody who wants to be powerful in corporate America and a Fortune 500, but wants to run a business and show up and be myself. She needs to see me so she can be
Yeah.
okay with who she is. And I feel like she's got to be pushed to be who she's not. So,
Oof. Now that right there, see, that to me is, I love you. I love you. Because it just takes us so long. Oh, I'll just speak for myself. It has just taken me so long to be comfortable in my own skin. So when the idea, the thought, or someone comes at me and is like, well, you should be, or you should. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. I said what I said. I meant what I meant. I am who I am. This
yes.
will either be fine or it will not. And
Yes.
trust me, at this point, I'm telling you that I'm fine if it's not. You know, one of my favorite shirts is, it says, I'm not for everybody. Love that shirt. Love it. I would wear it every day if I could.
I believe it. I believe it. You should go ahead and just get one every day. Just go ahead and just buy 7 of them, wash them, do them again, get your different colors and everything. But and that's true.
And I'll just look at my shirt before we
You see
start.
it.
You just need to know it
Right.
might come out at the end of this that I'm not for you.
And it's funny that you said it, because embracing that and really being, let me go back to this too, Dr. Tasha. You have to be honest with yourself. Have to be honest with yourself. So if
Yeah.
working for somebody else is what needs to be done for you to pay the bills, to put food on the table, to take care of your family, the trade-off is showing up and maybe having to be a little different and deal with stuff. But if that's what you need, commit to that. But again, for me, I was feeling suffocated and I needed freedom to be who I was and to figure it out and to know that I would be okay leading my own initiatives. And time again, women, Black women especially, have shown me that I'm okay and that they see me, and that with my jeans or my denim jacket, they're going to bring me in anyway. And that has been one of the most affirming things in my life, to know that somebody supports me, buying my book, taking my classes, they see me. But again, most who show up in my programs as well, or who I connect with, are just like me. So there are spaces, and I think we don't tell people enough that there are spaces for you to exist and be who you are, but also to create space for other people to be who they are. So be it that, again, you're going to go to a traditional 9 to 5 or start your own thing or do a little bit of both. Maybe that part-time business hustle that you have, that side hustle, is going to give you the space to be you and let you breathe for that 9 to 5. But you got to show up in spaces where you're wanted, not tolerated. And if you
Yes.
can't find that, create your own.
Love everything. Love everything. Tell us about your books. Tell us where we can find you.
Okay. So on the internet, the best place to get all of it would be my website, which is www.evehudsonphd.com. It's through that you can access my books, my store, the First Gen Shop. Check out my school, the First Generation University, as well as connect with me on social media. So I just rather you go there, because there's just one space, the one-stop shop, to connect with me. But if you must find me on social media, LinkedIn and Instagram would be the places to connect. And that would be Eve Hudson, PhD, across all socials.
Love that. Okay, so where can we find you next? Are you speaking anywhere? And you mentioned the podcast. So where can we get the podcast?
Yes, the podcast, the First Gen Lounge, is available wherever you like to listen to podcasts. So feel free to go check that out. New episodes come out every Thursday at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely appreciate that. For me next, I think the biggest things, I have an event this weekend while I'll be working with one of my sorors, doing an event about how I got over and just pretty much coming through the obstacles, especially with this past year. We're not going to talk about what, because you know what what it's been this past year, but just,
Yeah.
being able to recover and continue to like move forward with that. First gym week is probably really going to be the popping for me. That's happening in November. Well, right now I have a few schools that are courting me to come in and speak as well. But really showing up in my programs that I'm launching through First Generation University is probably going to be the biggest thing. So just excited about all of it because I've launched enough and I'm insane enough every day with what I have going on. So I'm trying to put too much more on my plate, Dr. Tasha, because woo, child.
Listen, though, it's all good stuff. I'm offering myself, plug me in wherever you need me to be plugged in, because I'm a fan and I like to work with folks who are about it, and you are about it.
Thank you.
And so I just see us, I don't know what I see us doing, but I know whatever it is going to be fire.
Okay, say that. You already know it. Like, I can't wait. Like, even this is the start of it. So y'all think we something now. Just wait. Just wait.
I don't even know what it is. It's just gonna it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be all the things, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's our last question. Oh my God, we've been talking for like 45 minutes.
This is good. And we just hit it off. But when we met the first time, we just hit it off. Like, I just love that. I really love that about us. Thank you.
So this is the thing I'll tell you. It's like I am like I feel people's energy, and I'm always like, I don't know what. I got to connect with her. I don't know what it is, but I got to connect. And I felt that, like, we talked, but we didn't talk. And I was like, I wrote down your name. I stalked you on LinkedIn. I did.
Me too. I did too. Look, see, that's how you know I did too. I was like, I don't know if she see me looking, but I'm a log out, go incognito. You can come back.
I don't know what it is, but
I love it.
To know her. I have got to know her. So
absolutely.
I'm really happy about this. Okay, so our last question that we ask every guest on this show, on this podcast, is if you could travel back through time and talk to your younger self, what advice would you give her and why?
Love this question. And it would be, you are enough and never doubt yourself. And I would even tell myself, be fearless, continue to be fearless in your pursuits, because there's nobody who's going to do what you do like you do. And why? Because I knew when I was in high school, actually probably before that what I'm doing now I wanted to do, but I couldn't articulate it. So what I mean by that, especially being a speaker, I've always knew I wanted to use my voice to help uplift others, to get other people to dig inside of themselves and just pull out their greatness. I knew that, but nobody could tell me how to be a speaker, and there were no Black women speakers in my life. And then to have evolved, to have been on this journey, and to having these web of experiences, and to still be led back to the very thing I asked somebody about doing even when I was in college, but everybody pushed me to a career, to a something, and you're good at this, you're good at that. But when I started listening to myself, Dr. Tasha, when I started thinking about, I knew being in a higher ed setting that I was supposed to do more than what one school was going to allow me to do. One institution, I knew it was bigger. And the minute that I allowed myself to be fearless, to even dare to think I was enough, I'm now sitting on a global platform. And there have been several instances where what I used to make in 3 months, I can make in a week. So there are things that are happening that I'm just like, whoa, did that just happen? And I would have never imagined, right? But I should have kept believing, or I did believe, but just to have known that I would be all right. I probably wouldn't have taken as long to get to where I am now because of trying to follow the yellow brick road. And I was like, I'm just going to build a road and pave it red and just do my thing. So, but
hey, do not have me messing up my makeup. I got a meeting later, girl.
And you look good. You look good. You look good.
I'm trying to be cute today. Oh my gosh, there's so much in there. And you know what? We could do another episode, and we might. We might need to, because I want to unpack that, because there's so much in that we could say, and I think we need to be said. So I am going to leave it here. I thank you so much for your time today. It means a lot to me. Like you said, we met on a, I don't even know, on a platform doing a nice little, panel event. But we connected in a way that, like, I know is going to be meaningful and impactful. This has been magical. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate you. Continue to be who you are and do the work that you do. Because now that I know that you exist, right? We cross paths for a reason. I'd be like, hey, have you heard about such and such? So like, know that I am speaking for you, and your name is entering rooms that you have never been in and probably won't be in, because that's what we're supposed to do for each other. And I know you do that for me. And thank you for again allowing me in your space to share my story. And I just hope that those of you who are listening don't take for granted this opportunity that Dr. Tasha is presenting, the resources that she's giving, the path that she's helping to lay out, because this is tremendous and everybody can't do it. And mind you, you see how many Black women are in STEM that don't do it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're doing what they can to make it. So for you to take on the extra work to say, I'm going to make it, but I'm going to bring others along the way. So just thank you for that. And I look forward to how we're going to tear it up. So whatever we do, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I promise you. Y'all wish y'all were going to be privy to them back in.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. So again, another fabulous episode. Another fabulous guest. As I end every show, again, I'm Dr. Tasha. You can find me on my website at drtasha.com. Tasha is spelled Toshia. You can find all the things there on my website as well. My books, speaking engagements, my coaching classes, and my consulting work. It's all there for you to have. As I end every show, you guys, I wish you the best. Hope you are having a fabulous week, and keep yourselves safe.